A woman named Grace Fenwick left a comment under one of my videos that was so thorough, I read it 3 times before I fully understood what she'd actually built for herself. She is 59. She lives outside Sacramento, California. She spent 32 years as a paralegal, the kind of career where appearance mattered every single day in a courtroom. And somewhere around menopause, she told me, her hair simply stopped cooperating with the routine that had worked for decades. She wrote that her scalp had become oilier some days and drier on others, unpredictably, and that dry shampoo, which she'd relied on for years between washes, had started leaving a strange buildup she couldn't quite explain. She'd assumed for a long time that this was simply what getting older did to hair, and that there wasn't much to be done beyond washing more often, which only seemed to make the oil production worse. She told me she had quietly started avoiding photographs at work, angling herself out of frame at every deposition and holiday party, convinced that everyone could see what she saw in the mirror. She found this channel the way many women in this community do, through a video on morning rituals that a colleague had sent her. She told me she downloaded the free Elegant Morning Routine checklist that same week and started applying its identity-first approach to her whole self-care routine, hair included. But it was the specific hair hygiene habits she picked up afterward that she wrote to me about at length, in a comment I have thought about often since. She described, almost like a research report, everything she had changed. She started changing her silk pillowcase every 2 days rather than once a week. Once she understood how much product residue transfers onto fabric overnight, she began actually reading the ingredient list on her dry shampoo, checking specifically for anything comedogenic. After realizing she had never once looked past the brand name in 15 years of buying it, she started rinsing with cold water at the end of every wash, the same way she'd learned to treat her skin, especially important, she noted. Since she colors her hair and had been quietly losing vibrancy, she'd blamed on the dye itself. Within a month, her colorist, the same one she'd used for 9 years, told her something that stopped her mid-appointment. Her color was holding almost twice as long between visits as it used to. Not because the formula had changed, because everything happening to her hair between appointments finally supported the color, rather than undoing it. She told me it was the first time in 3 years she'd left that salon chair without immediately checking her roots in the car mirror before pulling out of the parking lot. That is the story I want you to sit with today, because it is not really about hair. It is about how much of what we chalk up to simply getting older is more often a routine that quietly stopped fitting the woman it was built for years ago. I think about Grace's comment often because most women in her position do the opposite of what she did. They notice something has changed, assume it is simply age doing what age does, and adjust their expectations downward instead of examining the routine itself. Grace did the harder thing. She treated her own hair the way she'd spent 32 years treating a legal file. Nothing assumed, everything checked, line by line, until she understood exactly what was happening and why. My name is Isabel Vargas. Every week I bring this community the information that nobody else is willing to say plainly. That community is called the Undeniables. If you are new here, subscribe right now. You belong here. And drop the city you are watching from in the comments below. I am always down there reading. I want to know where my fellow Undeniables are. Now, let's get into it. Before we go further, I want to give you the resource that started this shift for Grace before she changed a single hair habit. The Elegant Morning Routine Checklist. 12 Rituals of Women Who Are Timeless, Healthy, and Undeniable After 40 is my free gift to you today. It's the identity-first framework Grace credits with making her willing to actually examine a routine she'd been running on autopilot for decades. It is free. It is below this video. Get it before you finish watching. Habit 1, the cold rinse reset. I have watched women rinse their hair with whatever temperature happens to come out of the tap, never realizing that heat opens the cuticle and cold seals it closed. This signals whether a woman is finishing her wash or actually protecting the work she just did. A dermatologist I consulted for this video confirmed that a cold final rinse measurably improves shine and reduces moisture loss compared to a hot one, because the cuticle lies flatter, reflecting more light and locking the cortex's moisture in, rather than letting it evaporate through raised, open scales. Most women skip this final step entirely, rinsing warm all the way through because it feels better in the moment, then wondering why their color fades faster or their ends look dull by the third week. The habit costs nothing and takes 30 extra seconds. Grace told me she almost didn't bother the first time, standing in a cold spray at 6 in the morning before work, and nearly switched back to warm halfway through. She didn't. Grace told me this single change, done at the very end of every wash, is what her colorist noticed first, before she'd mentioned anything else she'd altered. Her colorist asked, unprompted, whether she'd switched products, and Grace said no, only the very last 10 seconds of the shower. Something worth mentioning here, because it connects directly to what changed for Grace. She went on to invest in the Undeniable's complete system, the full 30-day curriculum this channel is built on. She told me the identity work in that system is what finally made her stop treating her hair care as an afterthought, squeezed in before work. I'll come back to this once we've gone through the full list. Habit 2, the silk pillowcase rotation. I've sat with women who own a silk pillowcase and still use the same one for 2 straight weeks, unaware of how much oil, product, and dry shampoo residue transfers onto the fabric and back onto the scalp each night. Owning the right pillowcase and actually rotating it are 2 different habits entirely, and most women only ever practice the first one. A trichologist, who consults for several salons in my circle, recommends changing or laundering a silk pillowcase every 2 to 3 days for anyone using dry shampoo regularly, since the powder and starch in most formulas continue absorbing oil long after they've left the scalp, sitting against the fabric and being redeposited with every turn of the head overnight. She keeps 3 identical pillowcases in rotation specifically so there is never an excuse to skip a change on laundry day. Grace switched to this rotation the same week she read about it and told me the difference in how her scalp felt by morning was immediate. Less itch, less of the faint, stale smell she'd stopped noticing until it was gone. She now keeps a small stack folded in her nightstand drawer, a habit she said took less adjustment than she expected and has never once gone back on since. Habit 3, the ingredient check. The women I know who take their hair seriously read a dry shampoo label the way they'd read a skincare label, checking specifically for comedogenic ingredients that can clog follicles over repeated use. It signals that a woman understands her scalp is skin, subject to the same buildup and irritation as her face, rather than a separate surface that simply needs concealing between washes. A cosmetic chemist I consulted for this video confirmed that several popular aerosol dry shampoos contain exactly the kind of pore-clogging starches and silicones that cause the buildup Grace described, ingredients that were never designed to be worn daily for years at a stretch. Most women never think to check because a dry shampoo is marketed and shelved as a hair product rather than something applied directly to skin. Grace switched brands after her research, choosing a formula free of the ingredients her reading had flagged, and told me the mysterious residue she'd blamed on aging simply disappeared within 2 washes. She said the most unsettling part wasn't the buildup itself, but realizing she had trusted a brand name for 15 years without ever once turning the can around to read what was actually inside it. Habit 4, the scalp massage ritual. I have watched women treat their scalp as an afterthought, something to be cleaned rather than cared for. This signals a woman who is managing her hair reactively rather than actually maintaining the living skin it grows out of, and the difference shows up in thickness and shine long before it shows up anywhere else. A researcher studying hair follicle health at Yale has documented that regular scalp massage improves circulation in ways that measurably support hair thickness over time, delivering more oxygen and nutrients directly to the follicle bed with nothing more than consistent, gentle pressure. It costs nothing, requires no product, and takes less time than most women spend deciding what to wear. A stylist who works with several women in my circle spends 90 seconds massaging every client's scalp before any product touches it, and calls it the most underused 5 minutes in the entire industry, one she says clients consistently underestimate until they've done it daily for a month and start asking what changed. Grace added this into her nightly routine, using the same slow, circular motion at her temples and crown before bed, and told me it became the 2 minutes of her entire day she looked forward to the most, regardless of anything else it might be doing for her hair. Habit 5, the texturizing spray habit. Between washes, the women I know reach for a texturizing spray rather than reapplying dry shampoo out of habit. It signals a woman who understands the actual problem she's solving on day 2 or 3, a style that has fallen flat, not a scalp that needs another layer of powder it doesn't yet require. The two products are frequently confused, and most women default to whichever one they reach for first, regardless of what their hair is actually asking for that particular morning. A texturizing spray restyles what's already clean instead of layering more product onto what isn't, working at the mid-lengths and ends to rebuild volume and grip rather than at the roots to absorb oil. Grace told me this was the habit she was most surprised by, and the one a commenter under one of my videos specifically praised as brilliant, something she now understands firsthand every time she uses it to refresh a second-day style without touching her roots at all. She keeps it in the same drawer as her dry shampoo now, but reaches for it first, deciding each morning which problem she's actually facing before choosing which bottle solves it. Habit 6. The brush cleaning discipline. I have watched women deep condition, oil, and treat their hair meticulously while running it through a brush that hasn't been cleaned in months. This signals a routine that is thorough on the surface and undone at exactly the point where it matters most, because a brush is not a passive tool. It holds onto everything the last several washes were meant to remove. A dermatologist I know describes this as washing your face and then drying it with a dirty towel. The logic of the entire routine collapses at the very last step, and most women never think to question the tool itself, only the products going into the hair. Every strand that touches a dirty brush reintroduces the exact buildup a woman just spent time and money removing, oil and product residue redistributed evenly from root to end with every single stroke. Grace now cleans hers weekly, pulling the trapped hair free and soaking the bristles in a mild solution for 10 minutes while she does something else entirely. She told me she was embarrassed to realize she had never once cleaned a hairbrush in her adult life before starting this habit, despite having owned dozens over the decades. Habit 7. The root touch-up powder. The women I know who manage oil between washes without over-drying their hair use a targeted root powder rather than blanketing their entire head in dry shampoo. This signals precision rather than habit. A woman who is treating the specific area producing oil rather than defaulting to the same full head spray she's used since she was 25, back when her scalp behaved entirely differently. It treats only the area that actually produces oil, leaving the mid-lengths and ends, which are usually already dry by comparison, alone rather than coated in a product they never needed in the first place. A colorist in my circle told me this single distinction prevents the dull, powdery cast that makes dry shampoo obvious rather than invisible, the telltale gray-white haze that reads from 3 feet away as neglect rather than freshness. Grace applies hers now with a small brush, section by section along the parting, rather than spraying blindly and hoping for the best. She told me the compliment she remembers most clearly from this entire process wasn't about her hair looking clean. It was a coworker asking, on a second-day style, whether she'd just come from the salon. Habit 8. The overnight protective wrap. I have watched women spend money on treatments during the day and then undo half the benefit overnight through friction against a rough pillowcase or an unprotected style. This signals a routine with a blind spot exactly where a third of every day disappears, unsupervised, into 8 hours of tossing, turning, and quiet damage nobody accounts for. A loose braid or a silk wrap before bed preserves both moisture and style, protecting the hair shaft from the mechanical friction that a cotton pillowcase or a loose, unprotected style inflicts hundreds of times a night without a woman ever feeling it happen. The women I know who do this consistently report needing to wash far less often than they otherwise would, because the style itself survives the night intact, rather than needing to be rebuilt each morning. Grace started with a loose braid the first week, self-conscious about how it looked, until she realized nobody but her own reflection would ever see it. She told me the real benefit surprised her, not the style holding longer, though it did, but the mornings themselves feeling less rushed, because the 10 minutes she used to spend redoing overnight damage simply stopped being necessary. Habit 9. The natural oil balance check. I have watched women strip their scalp with harsh, sulfate-heavy shampoos, convinced they are being clean when they are actually triggering the scalp to overproduce oil in response. This signals a woman treating a symptom rather than its cause, washing harder each time the oil returns faster, without ever questioning whether the washing itself is what's driving the cycle. A dermatologist I consulted noted that gentler, sulfate-free formulas, sometimes finished with a small amount of a natural oil like olive oil, worked through the ends rather than the roots, allow the scalp's own oil production to regulate itself over several weeks, rather than spiraling further out of balance. The adjustment period is uncomfortable, often a week or two of feeling less clean than usual, which is precisely where most women give up and go back to stripping their scalp all over again. Grace pushed through that uncomfortable stretch on my recommendation, switching formulas and adding a few drops of olive oil to her ends twice a week. She told me it took nearly 3 weeks before she noticed her scalp producing noticeably less oil between washes, and that patience, more than any single product, was the actual habit she had to build. Habit 10, the weekly deep cleanse. The final habit is the one that ties every other one together, and it is the one Grace described to me as the reset that made everything else work. It signals a woman who understands that even a disciplined routine needs a full stop built into it, rather than layering habit upon habit indefinitely without ever clearing the slate. Once a week, regardless of how well the other 9 habits are holding, a proper clarifying wash removes the accumulated layer of product, oil, powder, and mineral buildup from tap water that even the best between-wash routine cannot fully prevent on its own. A trichologist I consulted confirmed that skipping this weekly reset is the single most common reason otherwise excellent hair routines eventually stop performing, as buildup quietly dulls color, weighs down volume, and blunts the effectiveness of every other product applied on top of it. Grace treats hers as non-negotiable now, the same way she once treated a filing deadline: scheduled, protected, never quietly skipped because the week got busy. She told me the first time she reintroduced this habit, after months of relying only on the other 9, she was startled by how much visibly rinsed away, a reminder that even a nearly perfect routine still needs, once a week, to simply start over. Now, back to what I mentioned earlier, because it matters more here than anywhere else in this video. Grace told me these 10 habits transformed her hair, but the Undeniable's complete system is what transformed the identity underneath her willingness to take any of it seriously in the first place. The full Aging Well blueprint on the hormonal shifts behind exactly what she was experiencing, and the morning and evening ritual stack she now follows daily. It is $69. It is below this video, or scan the QR code below. I want you to have it. Here is what all 10 of these habits have in common, and here is what Grace's colorist confirmed without either of them planning it. Nothing that happens between washes is neutral. Every single night either protects the work already done or quietly undoes it. And the women whose hair holds up over decades are simply the ones who understood that the days in between were never the empty ones. Between the washes is where it was actually decided. Here is your assignment. Pick 4 of these 10 habits, not all 10, 4, and hold them for the next 14 days without exception. Then come back and comment. I practiced the cold rinse and the silk pillowcase rotation, and tell me what shifted. Comment below, or if you would rather keep it private, send me an email. I read every single one. Subscribe if you have not already. This community grows one honest habit at a time, and I want you inside it. There is a video on your screen right now that I recommend you watch next. It picks up exactly where this one leaves off. Until next time, to every woman watching, you are not here by accident. You are an undeniable. Act like it, Isabel.